For today's video, I'm going to show you how to take one stencil and create two totally different backgrounds, and we're going to use that on one card. So I'm using the new Crafty Crew kit from Crafty Stamp Co, and this is the November kit. So it is ready for pre-order. You can pre-order now through October 15th, and it comes in this neat little bag here. So once I stamp and color my images, I just store it in that bag along with all of the other things that's in the kit. If you'd like to see what's in the kit, check out my unboxing video for the kit. So for my card, I've gone ahead and cut down a piece of white cardstock to 4 by 5 1/4. And then I've smooshed some orange ink onto some acetate and sprayed it with water. Now this is a water-based ink, so I've just sprayed it down with water just to get it flowing more. And then we're just going to smoosh it onto our card background. So I like using the acetate like this so that I can kind of see what I'm doing with my card background. You can turn it over, you can smoosh other ways, and I've showed other smooshing techniques on my channel, but typically you can't see what you're doing. So with the acetate, you can kind of see where you're adding the ink. Now I'm just going to dab off any of the excess ink, and then here I'm bringing in a piece of scrap paper just to clean up that ink and not waste it. And I'll use this possibly in another card next week as I'm using this kit. So I'm just going to lay this aside, but it's already getting my background started. So now I really want to clean off my acetate before I bring in my next ink color. So I'm trying out this distressed ink. I can't remember the color it was, but as you'll see in just a moment, when I go to add it, it's just too light on my background, and I'm looking for a darker blue or a darker turquoise blue. So I'm going to try a different ink. So I'm just going to wipe my acetate off. You want to be sure you get all of that water off because you don't want to get that in your ink pad. And so I'm just using a variety of inks today, just water-based inks. So this is an ink from Pink Fresh, and it's one of their turquoisey blues. I can't remember the name of it right off, but if it's still available, I will link it below. So here you can see now I'm not really using the acetate like I did before. I'm just randomly smooshing my card base down, and then I decided to flip it over and just kind of get an idea where I'm getting the ink, so I'm sure to fill in all of those gaps between the orange. So for my card, I've chose 3 colors today. I'm using the blue turquoisey look along with the orange, and then I'll also bring in some brown. So I'm going to clean off my acetate again, and then I will go ahead and dry this piece. And so I want to get it dry before the next step. So now I'm just going to lay it down on my waffle flower. This is a waffle flower grip mat, and that helps hold it when you're stenciling it. So what I want to do is I want to put my stencil on, and this stencil is from the new kit, and it's kind of got like a sweater texture to it. It goes along with the whole fall theme of this kit. So I'm just going to press that down, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my orange ink and my blue ink. And so in the areas where I smushed orange, I'm going to stencil a little bit of the stencil. Now I'm not trying to fill in the whole background with this stencil. So you can see I'm just going to stencil in 3 random places in the orange background. So I'm using orange on top of orange. Then I'm going to come in with the blue, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to find some random places to add this blue ink. And so what I'm going to do is just once again get a little bit of ink onto my sponge, and then anywhere there's blue, I'm just going to add a little bit of the stencil image here. But you can see I'm not stenciling the whole thing, and I'm not stenciling the whole area. I kind of find like 3 areas and just stencil those, and then that's it. So 3 of the orange and 3 of the blue, random places, but matching the color where it was at. And you can see here this stencil looks really cool on the background. So I'm just going to bring in my inks again, and I'm just going to lightly add a little bit of blue where the blue is in the background, and then where the orange is, I'll add a little bit of orange. But I'm not trying to make it solid. I still want you to be able to see all that smushing, but I just didn't want all of that white in the background. So I'm just lightly adding the blue and lightly adding the orange, just to get a more solid background, but not completely solid, if that makes sense. Now the orange filled in quite a bit of the card, so I'm not going to put as much orange as I did the blue. But you can see here I am filling in the background some with the orange. And I really love this orange and blue color together. So once I have it good and dry, I'm bringing in some of my powder just to powder over this before I'm going to do some embossing on it. And I'm going to use the leaf stamps from the Fall Weather Meadow. And so for the larger leaf stamp, I'm just going to stamp that out. So I have embossing ink here that is clear, and I'm stamping it on my background. Now when I did this, I kind of regretted using the clear because I couldn't see where I was putting this larger leaf. So I just kind of stamped it random places and hoped that it was in a good spot. So in hindsight, I'll probably go back and I will probably stamp it with a little bit of orange or something really light. And then I found a gold embossing powder in my stash that has more of an orange look. So I had several different golds, but this one had more of an orange look rather than the metallic look. So I decided to use this one because I kind of want these to blend in with the background. I don't want it to stand out a lot, but I do want to have some of that embossing in the background just to add a little bit more texture to this card as well. So once I have my embossing powder, I'm just going to bring in my heat tool and I'm going to heat it up and melt the embossing powder so that we can see these leaves in the background. And really they're going to blend in enough that they're kind of going to be just glossy outlines of these leaves. And I know it's really hard to see on camera, so I'll try to hold it closer once I get through heat embossing them. So see, you can kind of see those leaves in the background. It's really hard to see on camera, but they're just sort of glossy and a goldish orange look in the background. So then I'm going to come in with the smaller leaf that's in that stamp set, and I'm just going to stamp it with the same blue that we've been using in the background. And I'm just going to stamp in random places. Now I'm not keeping these colors on top of, like I did with the stenciling, I'm not keeping them on top of their identical color. So you can see here I'm putting the turquoise in the orange, but I'm also adding the turquoise leaf in the turquoise area as well, and kind of just mixing it up, and it just adds another layer to this background. So once I have the leaf stamped, I realize I want a little bit more stamping in the background. I love to have text kind of in the background, but not really standing out. So what I'm going to do is, instead of stamping this with a stamping block, I'm going to just hold this stamp with my fingers because I don't want a crisp, clear impression. I don't want the entire stamp on here. I just want bits and pieces of the wording. So if I use my fingers like this and just hold the stamp, I'll get just a few letters here and there so that you can see that there's wording, but you can't read the whole entire thing. And this is from the Fall Weather Meadow stamp set. It's the one that has all of the wording, it's a group of wording, just words having to do with fall. So I thought that would be cool in the background. I'm just randomly stamping that around. And then once I have that done, I'm just going to bring in my brown ink. And I was using the brown to stamp it. So like I said before, I chose 3 colors. I chose the blue, the orange, and the brown for my card. And it's really makes it easier if you'll think of what colors you want to use before you get started. And choose just a couple of colors, 2 or 3 colors, so that you don't overwhelm your background. And so then I just came back with that brown that I used to stamp the text in the background, and I just inked around the edges just to frame out my card. And now I'm smushing a little bit of orange, blue, and brown onto my acetate, and I'm putting them in different spots. I'm not mixing them up, and they are water-based inks, so then I spray them with some water just to loosen them up, and then I'm going to create splashes using this ink. So I couldn't find my regular paintbrush that I normally use to create splashes, so I found this one in my stash, and I think it's an older watercolor brush. I'm not really sure, but I love the look that it was giving, so I decided to use it. And that's the thing, when you're crafting, I really love experimenting, and you should do that too. Play around and just try different things. So if you don't have the same stuff I have, go through your stash, see what you have, and use what you have, and just experiment and see what you can come up with. Your background may look like mine or maybe totally different, but you may come up with something even better. So be sure to just experiment and craft when you're crafting and playing. So let's move on to the next part of the card. So I'm layering up my plates for my die cutting machine. And so my machine came with this rubbery mat, and I think you can order it if your machine doesn't come with it. And so I have today I'm using the Spellbinders Platinum 6. I don't think this one's no longer available, but they have another version. And so what I'm doing is I'm using my stencil as a embossing folder, and this is one of my new favorite things to do. It really extends your stencils even further. So this is our second technique using our stencil today. So once I did that, I decided that I wanted to die cut it out using my rectangle die that has the little stitched edges, and then I realized that smushed my embossing down. So all I'm going to do is just lay my stencil back on top of my embossing, line it up again, and run it back through, and it will just deepen that impression again. Now this is how you layer it up from my die cutting machine. I put the bottom 2 plates, and then I put the rubbery mat, then my paper, then the stencil, and then I'll put the plate on top of that you use anytime you're die cutting. And you can see here it gave a great impression. So now I'm just going to layer that up on my card as well. So for this card, we've used 2 stencil techniques, and there are endless possibilities with stencils. There are so many things that you can do with them. And these are 2 of my favorite ways to use a stencil, so I wanted to share that today. Now I will be back next week using this kit and show you some more ways to use the items that come in this kit. So this is the ribbon that was in the kit, and be sure to check out my unboxing video for explanation on all of the items that are in the kit. So I'm just going to wrap it around my card front, and I'm layering that embossed rectangle on the top, and then here is our stamped image from the fall weather meadow. And so the stamp set also comes with this little book, so I'm going to add the book sitting beside her, and then she's sitting there holding her coffee cup. So I'm keeping it pretty simple. Now I'm not going to add a sentiment on the front of this card. I felt like that might be a bit too much, but I'll write the note on the inside. This will probably be like a note card, a thank you card, or something I send somebody, so I can just add a little note on the inside, and I can stamp a sentiment on the inside if I decide that I want to. So then I'm just going to layer this onto a white card base, and because I cut it 4 by 5 1/4, you're going to see the white card base around the edge, and I did that on purpose. I want to see that framed out, just another layer of white, so that that white that's in the center of the card is not just there by itself. I know how to make sure so that everything just sort of blends and pulls together for a cohesive looking card, if that makes sense. So here I'm just going to add this to the white card base, and then we have our completed card. So I hope that you have enjoyed seeing me create these cards today. I hope it gives you some ideas on how to use your stencils and extend the use of all of your products that you have. You can get so much more use out of them than just the one intended use. And also the stamps. The stamps can be used to create your background as well. So hopefully you have enjoyed seeing me put this card together. Hopefully it's inspired you to create something this week. And if you're interested in the kit, be sure to check out my unboxing video. I'll have a link in my description to that video, but I'll also have a link to this kit on the Crafty Stamp Co. website, and it'll be my affiliate link. And thank you so much for using my affiliate links when you are shopping. And I hope that you will come back next Friday and see what I create with this kit. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.